living your best life with Senior Choices for you. Welcome. I'm your host, Brent Veasey. As always, we got to get it out of the way. If you want to reach out on 936-900-3190, text or call, and or you can reach out on the Instagram at senior_choices. So you can probably notice I got a little frog in my throat here. Yeah. Allergies, I guess. Can't stop the drainage or the sneezing. So been treating it less such. Gotten a little bit better, but there's all kinds of stuff going around right now. It's just that time of year, really, isn't it? And we got to make sure that we are doing what we need to in order to take care of ourselves, right? So part of Senior Choices, senior being senior best, choices, is that we want to make sure that we are doing what's the best for our bodies, right? And, at this time of year, making sure that you get enough sleep, because there's all kinds of stuff going on right now. You got to keep track of, not only at work winding down, but family stuff coming up and doing stuff, all the gifts, all these things that just add up, pile up, and makes life even more stressful than it normally is, right? That takes a toll on your body. So we want to make sure we do what we need to take care of that temple, right? This temple. So what we need to do is try to get as much sleep as we can, get as much hydration from water and other good hydrating liquids, okay? Not the other kind. I know you're thinking, beer is a good hydrate. No, not so much. Alcohol is not a hydration. Okay, unfortunately, tastes yummy, but not hydrating. Okay, so we got to make sure we stay hydrated. Vitamins, I take them, and I think they make a difference for me. Now, whether they can make a difference for you or not, I don't know. But they do make a difference for me, and my wife has started taking them, and I've seen a little bit of a difference with her. So vitamins, supplements could be a good thing. Vitamin supplements. And then the other thing that's out there that will take care of ourselves is that flu vaccine. Yes, it's a real thing. And there's evidence behind, scientific evidence, science, actual science, not opinions, not talking heads on podcasts like this, or other way, anywhere else. But scientific studies show that the flu shot, at the minimum, makes a flu occurrence less virulent. Okay, so that means it doesn't last as long and it doesn't get near as bad. And in many cases, it can actually prevent you from getting the flu if it's the right strain and all that, because how it matches and all that. So getting your flu shot, that could be very important right now, because that could also help you with all these other little respiratory viruses that are out there too, because they all kind of branch off of the same type of flu virus for the most part. There's some differences, but a flu shot can help you a lot. And then that COVID shot. Yeah, we're not taking a lot of those right now, and for that reason, COVID is out there. It's definitely not as bad as it was during the pandemic, but it is still out there, getting people sick, some of them pretty seriously, so they have to go to the hospital. So getting that COVID shot as well, that booster, can also help make you, a little bit less vulnerable to all this other stuff that's out there right now. Okay? So do these things, and don't forget that we need to take care of our bodies right now. Okay? It's easy to do. And my wife is one of the worst ones at forgetting about that. She just pushes, and then, she gets something like she has right now. and it's not a good thing. So what we want to do is make sure we take care of ourselves so that we can deal with life as it is right now, which can be very stressful as we get ready for all of this holiday cheer. Cheer, right? Cheer. That's important. There's a lot of it out there. I know there's a lot of things that are going on that are positive. People giving, to various charities and things like that. Volunteering with soup kitchens and food banks and making sure that people have gifts going on for people that are socioeconomically disadvantaged. Okay? All that, excellent. And keep it up. Right? But there's still a lot of things going on out there on the road, right? And it's not positive. There's a lot of negative stuff going out there on the road. And you still see these road rage things happening. And you still have people just driving around doing whatever they think they want to do. I literally had someone just go ahead and run a stop sign today right in front of me when I had no stop sign. I had the right of way. And then I slammed on my brakes, slammed on the horn. And as she's just going through the intersection, she's just looking at me like I'm some sort of bumbling idiot. Like, what do you have a problem with me for? I can just do whatever. Well, no, you can't just do whatever. That's the point. Okay? There's actually rules, laws out there that we're all supposed to follow in order to be in a civilized, good society, right? So that we're able to not have chaos break out and we just degenerate into the, Lord of the Flies situation. Oh, literary reference. If you have not read that book, that is one that you might want to go and check out. Lord of the Flies. Very interesting book. Okay? But it's the season of cheer, folks. So why don't we just have a little bit of cheer? As much as things are going on right now, we don't have to just go and do whatever the hell we want. That's kind of the point. Because it's not about us. It's really about everyone else. And that's actually one of the things that my wife she's run herself into the ground because she's always there for everyone else. She really is. And she's been giving and going to all these different events, trying to help kids, trying to gather food for the food bank, doing all these other things in addition to all of the other stuff that she does on a regular daily basis. And it's like really inspiring. It really can be and should be, because that's what we need to be doing for our not only each other, but ourselves. Okay? So let's take that mindset. Let's actually do it, folks. It's not just about me. It's about we. And the moment we finally figure that out, things are going to start getting a little bit better around here. Around here, meaning our nation as a whole, not just Southeast Texas or the state of Texas, okay? So when we come back from this station break, we're going to talk a little bit more about this because there's another aspect of it that I want to talk about here on Senior Choices. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Senior Choices. I'm your host, Brent Veasey, and before the break, we were just talking about things in general that we should be doing right now to take care of ourselves, right? And one of the things that we need to do to take care of ourselves is understand that it's not about me, it's about we, okay? So we don't have to be driving around like pompous people out there. I was going to say pompous a-holes, but, don't want to do the naughty word. But we need to be more cognizant of others and not be in such a huff that we just run over each other, literally and figuratively, okay? And that got me thinking about something else that's kind of out there and happening. And I've noticed it a lot because recently, we have season tickets for my college. And yes, I did go to the University of Texas, and sorry Aggies, but I think A&M's great too. I have some great family. My cousin went to A&M. My uncle went to A&M. Wonderful, love them. And it's a great school for people that are interested in farming and engineering, agriculture and mechanical. It's a great school. It really is. So it's just Aggies. Y'all just have some very interesting things. Yes, you do. But I digress. Okay. Being a Longhorn, went to Longhorn games this year. And then this past couple of Sundays ago, went to the first Houston Texans game of this year. My wife was able to get some tickets for us. And what I see when I go to these games is, in the instance of UT, 105,000 people in a stadium all cheering for the Longhorns. And when you look around, you see people of all types, literally. Okay? You see all colors of people. You see all ethnicities of people. You see all walks of life of people. And all of them are still focused on one thing: cheering for the Longhorns. Booing for things that against the Longhorns. So I was like, that's kind of interesting. I wonder if the same thing will kind of happen when we go to the Texans game. So we went to the Texans game, and it was different. First of all, it wasn't 105,000 people. It was more like 70-ish thousand people. But you had a lot of people there that were supporting the other team. And that week, it was the Denver Broncos. And there was like all these people wearing orange because that's part of their color scheme. And it was a lot. Very surprising. So Texan fans out there that are selling your tickets and not going to the games, you're not doing yourself or your team any favors with this. Because that stadium was almost as loud for the Broncos as it was for the Texans. Okay? So in this instance, you had a lot of Bronco fans there instead of Texans fans. But you still had a lot of Texans fans there. And a lot of Texans fans that were the same situation that we had at UT. All colors, all ethnicities, all walks of life. And when you look at the Broncos, it was kind of the same thing. Okay? So, Brent, what are you building up to? What is this that you're talking about? Well, I'm talking about how sports actually can unify people. Sports can actually unify people. What do you mean? Well, people that have the same opinion can then go to a stadium and root for two different teams. So you had Broncos fans and Texans fans there at NRG Stadium. And a lot of those people are probably having same or similar political thoughts. But they're there rooting against each other in that particular case. Or they could be rooting with each other for the same thing, the team, the Texans. Okay? The same thing is especially true when you go to a UT game. You have all kinds of people there that will have different political beliefs and ideologies and what have you. I can guarantee you that. Okay? Keep Austin weird. It's a real thing. And Austin is weird. Okay? It's unique. It has a lot of different things going on there. But you have people coming from all over the state coming to Austin on UT game days. And all these people don't all sing from the same political hymnal. They do not. But when we came together there at Memorial Stadium in Austin, we all are singing from the same book of Support the Longhorns. We high-five each other. We boo with each other. All that. and we say, oh, that ref sucks. That's horrible. Oh, my God. Big 12 refs are horrible. Oh. And we all are able to see the same thing. We talk about the same thing. We walk out of the stadium together saying the same things about how great the game was or how bad the refs were, blah, 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 blah. And then we get back into our cars or trucks or whatever vehicles we have, and then we just go back into the mishmash of politicization that we have. Why? Why is that? Because we can come together and no matter what, be able to say, hey, we can agree on this. The Longhorns are great. Or people that are against the Longhorns, not so great. Or the refs are horrible against the Longhorns. Or the Texans, for that matter. Whatever sports team you want to go out there and support. The Aggies, your professional sports team, the Cowboys, Patriots, whatever. We all come together inside of a stadium, support that team 100%, no matter what differences of opinion we may have on politics that are out there. We can agree for the length of that game that this is the most important thing. So it's not the fact that we can't agree anymore that has the country against each other. Okay? And in some instances, quite seriously. Bad. Okay? So it's not that we don't agree on some things. Because we can find agreement on things. We do every Sunday, or at every baseball game, or every basketball game, when we come together into an arena, into a stadium, and we support those teams. We're all 100% together on supporting that team. So if we can agree with that, why can't we start to agree to disagree? Because it's not the end of the world to agree to disagree. That's the bottom line. That's how we maintain democracy. Because that's the most important thing that we want to be able to do, isn't it? Right? Or is some of you out there like, democracy? I don't know. I don't know if that's as important. After this station break, we'll talk a little bit more about this and finish up and move into our next subject here on Senior Choices. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Senior Choices. I'm your host, Brent Veasey. And as always, we can't forget about our great show music provided by the Silverman Sound Studio and Shane Ivers at silvermansoundstudio.com. We love this website because it has royalty-free music available for download and use. All they ask is that you mention them after you use their music, like I am now, and how they are supported by donations made on the website. It's a great resource with some great music options available, so please check it out and support it. So, our last segment. We can agree on sports. We come together to agree on sports. We support our teams very vociferously, very ardently, even though we disagree on politics. We still come together and support the Longhorns. We support the Texans, Cowboys, Patriots, Rockets, Mavericks, whatever the team is. We still come together, support it, high-five each other, do all those great things. So, we can come together on things. That's the point. And one of the things that we should come together on is this notion. We agree to disagree. And we walk away. And that's it. We don't hate each other. We don't say vile things about each other. We don't do bad things to each other. Literally. We just say, hey, I disagree with you. Okay. Well, thanks. for listening. Thank you. Have a good one. Take care. Bye. It's that simple. Civility. It's a great thing. And it's a needed thing for us to have a democracy. If that's not of interest to you anymore, then okay. Then just go be whatever you're going to go be. But then when the rest of us that are interested then point you out, then you better not have any kind of problems with it. Because the point is that we are a democratic constitutional republic. That's what we are. We have rules called the U.S. Constitution. We have laws that support those rules. And it's all there for us. That's what it really boils down to. So if we can come together when we don't agree on all this other stuff and find something to support and agree on our teams, then why can't we come together and agree on we agree to disagree? We have to, folks. We have to. And we have to start doing it now. Because January 1st is a political year. And all the rhetoric is going to get ratcheted up. And it's just going to keep getting worse and worse and worse. And we can't lose sight of the basic premise that we are a democratic constitutional republic. The first one of its kind in the history of the world, and one where its very existence is dependent upon us backing it. And us backing it not only with voice, but actions, most importantly. So my local community there's a group of people that are on the school board that decided that they wanted to make sure that certain books were not going to be read by junior high age children and younger. A lot of people came out and spoke against it, including myself. And I even quoted people named Benjamin Franklin, Thomas Jefferson, Alexander Hamilton, who literally said over 250 years ago that book bans are unconstitutional and bad. Literally. But this group of people that were on the school board, they do know better. So they voted in favor of it. Those are the types of things that we need to see not happen. Because what we have to be able to do is understand this basic premise. Don't be afraid of ideas. Because if you're afraid of the idea, then you give it more weight and heft by trying to hide it. That's a simple truth. In fact. Because we have something called the internet now. So you can find anything you want on the internet. You really can. And in this instance, you actually have entities that are out there that say that as soon as a book is banned in an area, then they're going to make it available for free to everyone around the world. The city of San Diego Public Library is doing that as one instance. So the moment that you say that something is not good and you try to get rid of it, then all that does is put a big red flag on it saying, here I am, come find me on the World Wide Web. Because that's what's going to happen. Because these teens are going to go out there, these 7th and 8th graders, even the 5th and 6th graders, on the internet, and they're going to find the city of San Diego Public Library, and whatever book my district put on that list, they're going to find the book and they're going to download it. And then probably read it. Because you raised a flag. So you're actually doing the exact opposite of what you wanted to do. You thought these ideas were just bad and horrible, and you're trying to... No, you protect your child by actually talking with them about these types of things. You don't hide it from them. You talk about it. They see something. Hey, I saw blah, blah, blah. Okay, well, tell me, what did you think about it? I had these conversations with my children. My daughter and my sons, both. And my wife and I, we went out of our way to make sure that when they saw stuff that was concerning to them or made them upset or whatever, then we walked through everything. Why does it make you upset? How does it make you feel? Why does it? And then we go into different aspects. Why is it? Why is it there? How does it do it? Blah, blah, blah. What do we think if they want to know? So when you actually have dialogue, then it takes the mystery out of it, and then they're okay. And then they're able to form their own opinion and move forward. And it doesn't stunt them. It doesn't turn them into something different. It actually does turn them into something different. It turns them into an adult. A rational, logical adult. Because they have knowledge that gives them power to be able to move forward in maturity. That's how things happen. That does not happen in non-democracies. That's the difference. That's what's at stake. When we can't come together and say we agree to disagree. We got to figure it out. After the station break, we're going to go back and touch on something we've talked about before, Washington and the updates. There's an inflation update, folks, here on Senior Choices. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Senior Choices. I'm your host, Brent Veasey, and in our last segment, we just talked about the importance of agreeing to disagree and why it's important. Because it's the basis of being able to have a constitutional democratic republic. It's that simple. So if we can't figure that out, then we're setting the stage for us to lose what we've got. And I mentioned the local book ban for my school district, and how all that does is basically, hey, we're here, and you're pointing something out that people are going to go find. Okay? As Bob just recently said, he was like, if you don't want something, to happen, the surest thing to make it happen is to point it out and say, don't do it. Don't do X, and you prohibit it, and then all of a sudden, X is getting done. Okay? That's how it works. So, that's what we need to work on, especially this upcoming year, folks. When all these politics is going to be going on, everything's going to be flying, that's what we need to focus on and get our people, the politicians that work for us, that's the key thing. They actually do work for us. We have control over this situation. We really do. We just choose not to exert it. Okay? But we got to make sure that these people stay within reason. Okay? So now we have to have our little breaking news. Breaking news coming fast and furious. So remember, we've been talking about everything that's going on in Washington. Okay. Well, the breaking news in Washington is that Congress is getting ready to be done by the end of this week. Okay, because they're going to be going home for the holidays, Christmas and everything. And the long and short of it is, we still don't have appropriation bills. Okay? The House has not passed any. The Senate's passed a couple of more because they were able to get through their military promotion thing and got that out of the way. So now they've actually started getting some of these bills voted on and passed. Now, they still have other things that they're trying to vote on, like Ukraine aid, Israeli aid, and stuff at the border. And that's all. But basically, we still are counting down to a mid-January, I think it's January 18th, when the first set of departments of the government run out of money. Okay? And then the next set of those departments will run out of money somewhere in the ballpark in February 2nd, I believe, Groundhog's Day. Imagine Punxsutawney Phil coming out and seeing that. It's like, what? What? I'm gonna go back in. I don't want to go see this. So that's where we are. Okay? And these officials in Congress are still doing other things. Like today, they're in Congress voting on whether to start an inquiry for impeachment on the current president. They can vote on that, but they can't vote on the actual stuff they're supposed to be doing, which is getting these appropriation bills signed up and made into law so that we actually have a functioning government at the beginning of next year. Voting on impeachment, possibly. We're going to look into it, but not doing this. That's where we are. All of this is happening because, again, we aren't making it clear what we want. Now, some of you, absolutely, some of you are doing an excellent job of making clear of what you want. Okay? Because if you're over here or you're over here, you're very vocal with what you want. And you make sure that everybody knows it on social media, in the media, wherever it is, you are heard loud and clear. Okay? It's the rest of us, right there in the middle. We are not making it clear what we want. Okay? We don't want what's over here. We don't want what's over here. We want actually to get things done. Get things fixed that need to be fixed. Solve actual problems that exist in our world today. In our society. Not just the political environment, but in society. Okay? Everybody says we have this AI problem. The artificial intelligence. Have they done anything about being able to keep the Terminator movies from actually happening? They have in Europe. The European Union just passed laws, the first laws in the world, that actually start regulating different aspects of artificial intelligence. Okay? So they made it a priority to get that done. Our Congress, no, can't do that. Can't do that. We have to do these other things like censure this congressman, for a congressman that pulled a fire alarm. So we're going to censure them. And we're going to do this impeachment inquiry. We're not going to pass these bills that we need to have for our government. We're not going to go and look at trying to fix the problem at the border. We just want to, just let it sit there. And because there is a solution to that border situation. There is. There's an actual solution to that. And it's basically everybody getting a little bit of everything. Because you basically say, okay, the immigration system is so complicated. Well, okay, so we simplify it and we allow people to apply for stuff online. Somebody wants asylum in the country? Well, send it to us online and we'll see. You can do it from your home or your phone, and we'll just take it from there. Right? Why is that so hard? Why can't we just make that happen? We actually need workers in many areas. Right now we have shortages in a lot of different places. We need people that have a lot of expertise in these different areas from other countries to be able to come in, and why can't we do that? Why can't we get more judges, immigration judges, to process the cases that they have? Why can't we get more immigration agents to be able to patrol and do things that we need? We can do all of these things. We can. If we tell them this is what we want. Make it happen. That's how it works. So, after this station break, we're going to get into that new breaking inflation news that was just released today. And it's actually good news again. Can't have too much good news here on Senior Choices. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Senior Choices. I'm your host, Brent Veasey. And, after the break, I mentioned that we were going to talk about inflation because there is news. Okay? And it's good news because what they released today was the Consumer Price Index information for November. Okay? And remember, consumer prices, that's the prices that we pay when we go to the stores. Okay? And in November, year over year, the Consumer Price Index was 3.1% increase year over year. 3.1%, which is down slightly from October year over year. Okay? It's within the parameters of what the economists were expecting. Okay? Because month to month, from October to November, the Consumer Price Index increased 0.1%. That's it. Okay? What's behind this? Well, a couple of things. The biggest is the fact that fuel prices have come down almost 6%. Gas prices are 5.8% lower right now than they were last November. So that's a big chunk of that. And I got all this information from CNN, okay, on the data, the date, the data, the numbers, and all that good stuff. What's also happening is that the price of food is moderating. So food prices only went up a little bit as well. Okay? So that's good news. So what happened with keeping it where it is? What are the negative things that are going on out there? Well, shelter costs are still going up. That went up 0.4%. And that is still on pace for an annual increase that's higher than the rate of percentage. The annual CPI, excuse me. I misspoke. So the shelter costs are still too high. What's behind that again? We've talked about this. Again, this is an aspect of supply. We simply don't have enough shelter out there. Whether it's apartment buildings or single-family homes, we simply don't have enough to meet the demand that's out there. Which a lot of that demand is coming from millennials. Okay? So that's one aspect that's a problem. Another problem that just popped up this last month was the prices of used cars went up 1.6% month to month. Okay? Now, a lot of that was only because of the UAW strike. Remember that? UAW went on strike in August. We were concerned that we were going to have enough new cars out there because they were starting to shut factories down because of the strike. So what ended up happening was people didn't buy new cars, they bought used cars. So the prices for used cars went up accordingly. So economists now are expecting that not to happen moving forward because they settled that strike. And there's no concerns about the supply of new cars. So that's going to be like a one-time glitch. Or in the parlance of economists, a one-time blip. Okay? Now, the core CPI, which is taking the food and the gas out of the equation, is at 4%, which is basically unchanged from the previous month. So 4% is not bad at all. It's still a little bit higher than what the Fed wants, and it's being a little bit stubborn in how it's coming down, which is kind of interesting because there's some dynamics that are out there that are a combination of supply issues in some respects, and then maybe some people trying to make a little bit of extra money on the side in other respects. Okay. So trying to make up for past issues by making it a little bit higher, by keeping the prices a little bit higher than they normally would be so that we can get a little bit extra cash on the margin. So that does happen and can happen. And in some respects, that could be happening right now in the economy in various ways. But the long and short of it is that 3.1% is pretty damn good. Brent, what are you talking about? We're supposed to be at 2%. We had inflation. What are you talking about? Remember, perspective. It's about perspective. You Gen Xers out there, like me, remember the late 70s, the 80s? Remember the inflation rates? Double digits? Remember that? Double-digit interest rates? Okay? That's bad. That's not good. That's not where we are. The boomers do remember that. You should, boomers. You should. I don't think a lot of you are remembering it right now because, you've gotten used to all the free money and all that. That's what it was. It was free money. Interest rates at 0. By definition, that's free money. But 3% is an inflation rate for a healthy economy, which means we're in equilibrium. Job growth is not so high that we have inflation going out of control because demand is out of control. Whereas prices are not rising super much so that job growth doesn't get out of whack either. So we are getting into that Goldilocks zone of an economy. That's what we should want. We should need. Because there's a lot of other people in a lot of other places in the world that are not going to get that. And they are really struggling with that. Europe is staring at a recession, an actual recession. Okay? So they've gotten the inflation now starting to get under control, but now the price was that they went too far with the interest rates, and now their economy, they're losing jobs in their economy. We don't want that, do we? Okay? So we've been coming down steadily, and we want to be in a parachute that we're able to come down and just nicely land, and nice and soft. That's what we want. And that's what we're getting. We literally are getting that. And that's what the economists are also saying. It's good news. And it's also going to be good news on the interest rate front. And after this station break, we're going to talk a little bit more about the interest rates when we come back here on Senior Choices. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Senior Choices. I'm your host, Brent Veasey. And in our last segment, we were talking about how inflation, the consumer price index, the price that we pay for November, was down to 3.1%. Core inflation is at 4%, which is basically the same as it was the previous month, so holding. But the trend continues to come down, nice and slow and steady, okay? And why this is important is because we don't want to have an interest rate situation that forces our economy to go into recession, which is what is happening now in Europe, okay? Speaking of those interest rates, so at the beginning of November, we were pretty close to, a little bit even above 8%. Well, at the end of last week, guess what the interest rates were? All the way down to 7.05% last time I looked. And the trend was continuing to come down because the markets are saying that the trend should be coming downward because of everything that's going on in the economy. They factor that in. Okay? So the Treasury yields are starting to come back down a little bit as well as a reflection. So the expectation is that we're going to have interest rates fall below 7%, if they haven't already fallen, relatively soon, probably, as long as the Fed doesn't do anything else with regarding interest rates. So that's the question. What's the Fed going to do? Well, they've still said that it's all about 2% on inflation. And the only lever they have to press is that interest rate lever through the prime. I think most economists believe that they're going to leave it alone for a little bit while longer because you still have that trend that it's slowly coming down. And you don't see anything else weird going on in the economy with any kind of spikes of activity with people, exorbitantly spending money. Though our holiday season is going above projections, okay? But a lot of that is happening because the stores have cut prices a lot earlier than they have in the past, which means you have more sales, but the amount of money that's being made is still less because they're eating into their margins. So the long and short of it is that we have a pretty good economy going right now, folks. Yes, there are people out there that are still struggling. Absolutely. And struggling with having to do 2 or 3 jobs, struggling because the price increases that are there are still more than they can bear because they are working so hard. And all of these things are there still to an extent. And the extent is much higher than it should be, to be honest. Okay? So we have work to do on that. Okay? But all compared to others, we are doing pretty well. China. Everybody is worried about China. China. So China just released a report showing that they are not experiencing inflation. They're experiencing deflation. Okay? So that means that their economy is not growing at all because people are not buying anything. The governments there are not buying stuff either because they have a lot of debt. So the governments have had to cut their budgets and cut their spending. So their economy is our economy is going this way. Their economy is going this way. And it's been like this, and now it's starting to dip even more. Because they have all kinds of issues going on that are serious and very bad for them. They have unemployment rates for people that are age 25 and under in not just double digits, but above 20 to 25%. That's how bad it is. You still have home markets where you have way too many homes and not enough people for them. And you have the financial institutions for those mortgages that are in very serious trouble, on the verge of bankruptcy. You have factories that are beginning to close down again, not because of COVID, but because they simply don't have anything to make, because there's no demand out there. So China has big problems. Big problems. Hopefully this helps put things in perspective. Because as bad as some things still are in the economy, for a lot of us, and there is a lot of us that are experiencing this, for sure. Okay? But these are things that we really have been dealing with for a long time. The whole inequality aspect, the whole fact that you have a significant part of the population that are out there having to work 2 or 3 jobs just to be able to make it. That's ultimately the good question that we should be asking ourselves, is why do some people have to do 2 or 3 jobs to barely just be able to live in a very modest or less situation? And how is that okay? I mean, that's a good question. I see a lot of them on a daily basis through my job that I interface with them. And it's very interesting to hear their perspective on life, because despite everything negative that could be said about their situation, because they're constantly working, they live in very modest or even some instances squalid situations, they still are out there giving it 150%. And it's kind of inspiring and amazing, to be quite honest, for a lot of them. But it still begs the question on, why is that okay? Because I thought the whole point was for everyone to be able to have some degree of living their best life, some degree of prosperity, for lack of a better term. And the best life should not be coming at the expense of family or anything else to be happening. And in order for you to live your best life, if you're having to work 2 or 3 jobs, you're not living your best life. So that begs the question on why that is acceptable. Why is that okay? I pose that to you as the final holiday question that we need to address. And maybe we'll look at it again next week. But that's a big one for me, at least. So there's a lot of things that are out there. A lot of things going on with the holidays. So let's not forget, it's not me, it's we. And we can agree to disagree. Shake hands and call it a good day. Hope this was good. Hope it was thought-provoking. Living your best life with Senior Choices. I'm your host, Brent Veasey. Thank you very much. Have a great week. See you next week. Goodbye.